got the funny sound, or is it fine?
No, this sounds better actually. Yeah, it sounds a lot better than
Cool.
it was.
Okay, brilliant. All right, let's start then. So, how old are you, sorry, Dave?
How old am I?
Yeah.
I'll be 55 tomorrow.
Oh, happy birthday for tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
And so, how long did you always live in Cornwall before moving?
Yeah, I was born in Bodmin in Margaret Crescent and lived there for a couple of years, and then I moved out to the family home at Llanivet and lived there for kind of like 20 years, and then moved back to Bodmin when I was 23, lived there for another 20 years, then back to Llanivet again for another few years, and then here.
Amazing. So you always kind of lived in the Bodmin area until 2016 when you moved to Barbados?
Yeah, very much a local.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay. Do you get many people take the mickey out of you over there for your accent?
Do you know what? No. More so in England, really. I think the West Country accent is more ridiculed in England than it is here.
Yeah.
People, it's funny, we were doing a spay clinic one day for the dogs here, and there was an American vet, and he said, "Are you from Cornwall?" And this is the only time it ever happened, really. I said, "Yeah." I said, "How did you know that?" He said, "Oh, I watched Doc Martin." So because of watching Doc Martin, he picked up on the accent.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's funny. I always find it hard still to pinpoint, and I'm Cornish as well, I find it hard to pinpoint the accent. So for him to be like, "Are you from Cornwall?"
Yeah, well, I was quite taken aback, actually. I was quite surprised, you know.
Yeah, that's impressive. Okay, right. Let's start then with talking about sort of when was it that you were sort of opened up to being a flat earther? When did it start?
Well, I started to wake up to a lot of things in kind of 2012, and I started to research and question things back then. And so by the time I looked at Flat Earth, it was a few years later in 2015, February 2015. And my first reaction when I saw a Flat Earth post on Facebook was like, "Oh, what a load of nonsense." It was like a knee-jerk reaction that we're all programmed to have. We all react the same way because this is how we've been conditioned from birth. And there's this stigma of stupidity and primitive thinking attached to it. And so I just dismissed it like everybody does as nonsense. And then I saw a couple of people who I knew were smart and very aware of a lot of things post about it and say it was interesting. So I thought, well, I'll have a look at this a minute. And once you do, take the necessary rational, open-minded, analytical approach at the case for Flat Earth, you find that the heliocentric model just absolutely falls down like a pack of cards. It's completely faith-based. Everything that we observe in this world in reality tells us that the Earth is flat and motionless. The only thing that tells us it's not is our indoctrination and NASA fakery and things like that. Everything that we experience and that we know and can demonstrably prove to be true lines up with the flat Earth. Nothing tells us that the Earth is moving. You know, not one experiment has ever proved that the Earth is moving. There's absolutely no evidence, there's no video footage of the Earth as a spinning ball in space in the year 2020. Yet NASA claim they can land probes on comets and planets millions of miles away, but they can't put something on the moon, or they can't turn the Hubble around, or they can't put any camera in space to show us Earth as a spinning ball. There's no footage out there that exists of Earth as a spinning ball in space. You get your ISS shots, but that's as fake as it comes, you know. Of course, people's reaction to this, the most surprising thing about the whole flat Earth thing is the way people react to it. There's a real hostility with some people when you question their core belief, and this is a recognized condition in psychological terms. It's called cognitive dissonance, where people feel threatened and their whole identity is threatened by their core beliefs being challenged. But if you look at it rationally, I mean, nobody believes anyone but themselves on this after they've taken a rational approach to looking at the evidence. And the evidence is there to verify. It's the most verifiable truth there is. Be quiet, please, rowdy puppies, because it's in front of our face every day. I mean, the horizon is always flat and eye level. Whether you're standing on the beach, you're on a mountain, you're in a plane, wherever you go, the horizon is always flat and it always rises to eye level. And this is impossible on the globe, absolutely impossible. And science tells us in one breath that Earth is too big to be able to see the curvature, yet we can watch ships disappear over it from shore. I mean, none of it makes any sense. None of it stands up to scrutiny. But you try and point this out to people, and it's very surprising the way they react. Some people, straight away, they take a look into it and they say, oh my God, yeah, I see what you mean. There's no curvature. Of course, it can't be anything but flat. But most people take a defensive position when they're presented with it.
So what are your because I know it varies between people, what are your core convictions that make you think it's unequivocally possible that the Earth is round? What are the main things for you that you tell people to try and convince them?
Well, like I just said, the most convincing thing I think that anyone can verify is the point that there is no curvature. I mean, we all know how water behaves. It seeks to find its own level. And, I've researched this and debated it now for 5 years. And not once has anybody been able to come up with anything to negate the fact that there's no curvature, there's no motion, there's no experiment that has ever proven that the Earth is moving. There are experiments, peer-reviewed experiments, that were done in the 1800s and later that went to measure the Earth's movement and couldn't find any. So there is absolutely zero. Einstein himself said he was quite sure that no optical experiment could be done to prove that the Earth was moving, and none ever have. I'm not saying he said the Earth is moving, but you kind of take my word for it. The whole thing relies on you taking their word for it, whereas everything that you observe and experience and know and can prove to be true through your own observation and experiment tells you that the spinning ball is simply impossible. There's no proof of gravity. There's no proof that mass attracts mass. No experiment has ever been done that proves mass attracts mass. Again, it's just something we're told to believe without any evidence in support.
But do you not think on the side of proof that fair enough if what you're saying there's no proof on that side of things, but there is also no proof apart from what you can see and believe to be true then that the Earth is flat? Is it not a two-sided debate where it's just what people believe, kind of like religion? Can you ever prove something is real, or if it's not then?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, flat Earth is the most irrefutable, verifiable truth there is. I don't know of anything that is more verifiable than the fact that the Earth has no curvature. If you look into what the rate of curvature should be, according to Earth's official dimensions and the Pythagorean theorem, this science doesn't dispute this, but it's supposed to be 8 inches per mile times distance squared. So the first mile 8 inches, the second mile 32 inches, the third mile 6 feet, and so on, and up to 100 miles. That should be 666 feet of curvature. Now I can look from my balcony and I can see Martinique from my balcony here in St. Lucia. And I know that Martinique is 42 miles long. So using that for scale, I can see that I'm looking at least 118 miles of horizon, of which the apex should be 4,500 feet, which is the highest point, Mount Pelée on Martinique, which I can see. So you can see what curvature should be. But you can also see that it's just not there. And like I say, I've flown at 40,000 feet in an aeroplane. I've looked out, the horizon, transatlantic, is flat and eye level. And on a sphere, curving at the rate Earth is supposed to be curving, that is simply impossible. We've got Neil deGrasse Tyson now, the heliocentric hero. He has come out and said emphatically, in no uncertain terms, that no curvature is visible at 128,000 feet, which is 3 to 4 times the height of commercial aircraft.
Sorry, that's my dog.
Oh, right, you've got one there too.
Yeah.
So Neil deGrasse Tyson himself has said no curvature is visible at 128,000 feet, and that at that altitude, Earth appears flat. Now, if you go onto YouTube now or online, and you key in flat Earth, you will be swamped with their algorithms that will give you heliocentric propaganda. That's all you'll turn up now. There's so much of it. In the last 2 years, there's been an absolute influx, an avalanche of flat earth propaganda videos, making out flat earthers are stupid and saying things like you can see curvature from a plane. There's countless ones out there, how you can tell Earth is not flat. Take a ride in a plane. This is absolute nonsense. Planes fly at 40,000 feet. Military planes fly at 80,000 feet. You had James May from Top Gear, and this is how they do it. This is how they deceive. We are living in an age of deceit. You had Top Gear, James May, go up in a U-2 spy plane saying he could see the curvature of the Earth. Well, they don't fly any more than about 70, 80,000 feet. They don't go anywhere near 128,000 feet. And at 128,000 feet, you've got Neil deGrasse Tyson saying emphatically there is no curvature. Now, this is impossible on a sphere curving at 8 inches per mile times distance squared, equating to 666 feet over 100 miles. And even if curvature was half the rate that it should be, it's still impossible. You know, it's just absolutely impossible. You can go down to the beach, you can go up on Brown Woolley, and that horizon will rise to your eye level. Now, if you're on a sphere, the horizon should be dropping away from your eye level, not rising as altitude is gained. And the only way that can be is if Earth is flat. And when you study it, you will find the evidence for a flat Earth is absolutely abundant. It really is. And there is nothing. I mean, if I was to ask you personally now, Lisa, the one thing that convinces you that the Earth is not flat as it appears, as you observe it to be, what would it be? And I guarantee that whatever you say will be something that you have taken on faith, that you can't actually verify with any proof. I mean, what does convince you that Earth is not flat as it appears to be?
Science.
Science, okay. So the scientific method if something is a scientific fact, it's got to be observable, testable, and repeatable. And I guarantee you, after 5 years of research and debate on this, I can tell you emphatically, there is not one shred of evidence that adheres to the scientific method that tells you Earth is a spinning ball and it's not flat. All you'll have is scientists say so, and that is not science. That's say so.
But by the same token, I'm sure you get this a lot, that there is no unequivocal proof that the Earth is flat.
Well, no, as I've explained to you, non-curvature alone is the most verifiable truth there is. I mean, what proves to you that there's curvature?
Let's not get into personal stuff because we could go on with that all day.
Well, I'm not being personal at all. I'm just asking you what convinces you there's curvature. Have you ever seen it?
To be honest, it's not something I personally look at in general, but it's just science, gravity.
Well, no. It's not science at all. It's scientists say so. There is no scientific proof of the globe. It's just something that's indoctrinated us into us from birth, all our lives, and there is absolutely no proof in support of it. Absolutely none. And it's hard these days for people to research it properly because of the abundance of propaganda that is out there. But my door is always open. If anybody wants to contact me on Facebook, if anybody wants to learn, I'm happy to help. I can locate good videos and good bits of information for people to look at and make up their own minds, because nobody believes anybody but themselves after they've taken the necessary rational, analytical approach into the matter. But I can promise you, there is no science in support of the globe. None whatsoever. Nothing that adheres to the scientific method that tells you Earth is not flat and motionless as it appears to us all.
There are lots of people out there who obviously say that flat earthers would, if scientists said the Earth was flat, you would be saying it was round, kind of thing, saying that it's going against the government and what you're told by authority figures just for the hell of it, rather than out of a pure belief. What do you think about people saying that? Well,
I think it doesn't make any sense. I mean, flat Earth, people who believe or know, it's not really a belief, it's a knowledge, it's an awareness. And these are people that have taken it upon themselves to discern the truth of it. And you'll find that it's the biggest revelation and an awakening of our age. Over the last 5 years, there must be millions now who know that the Earth is flat and motionless. And this is why you're seeing an uptick in the propaganda trying to prop up this failing illusion. That basically people believe what they're told. They don't believe, they haven't done any research into it. And they react as opposed to applying themselves to discerning the truth. Anyone who genuinely applies themselves to discerning the truth of this matter will find that the truth defends itself.
So why do you think, because obviously I understand that there are a lot of awful things in the world, you understand why authority figures would want to hide some things, but why do you think scientists would lie about the fact that the Earth is round? Why do you think they'd be saying that if it was flat?
Well, this is the thing. With flat Earth, the reason I focus on it is basically for a much bigger issue. And the bigger issue is that there is an agenda being exacted on humanity and has been for a long time. And the world is run by secret societies, and basically they all come under the same umbrella of the Vatican, which is the nucleus of it all, and their military arm, the Jesuits. And if you read the Jesuit oath as sworn by our current Pope, who is the first Jesuit Pope, you'll find that very chilling, I'm sure, about what the Jesuits are really all about. And it's the Jesuits that have purveyed this deception. People are under the impression, they seem to think, because they're told that everybody knew the Earth was a globe thousands of years ago, and this is completely untrue. And if you look into this, you'll discover that is the truth. All ancient societies and cultures depicted a very strikingly similar flat, motionless, domed Earth, like a snow globe. They all depict, even though they're continents apart, they all depict pretty much the same thing. And the Chinese had a flat Earth cosmology right up until the 17th century. And even at the turn of the century, flat Earth was still being taught in schools. And then you had Einstein sort of wheeled out and all the rest of it, and this whole heliocentric deception was enforced. But it goes back, I mean, initially the ancient Greeks conceptually thought about the heliocentric model. It's basically a sun cult, which is what the Vatican is. It's all based around sun worship. You can see this in their symbolism. But it's a very deep study to go into all that. But flat Earth lifts the veil from all other deceptions leveled against us. And basically it goes back very much to the whole Reformation movement, where the Catholic Church then started to instill a system of learning against learning. And they started to promote the heliocentric model to undermine the Bible, the existence of God, and the creation account. And that is what it all comes down to, really. It's the fact that it's hidden the obvious truth of intelligent design, which has created a society that has become quite nihilistic, that thinks they've evolved from monkeys and they live on a spinning ball in an endless, infinite space, which is completely not true. It's all the exact opposite. And so this fits in very well with the agenda of those that are running this world, and the ones that are running this world are Luciferian. And if you doubt this, if anybody doubts this, they've just got to study it. The evidence for this is overwhelming. And one of the things that really woke me up initially in 2012, 2013 was when I discovered Bohemian Grove. Now, Bohemian Grove is it's about 70 miles outside of San Francisco. And this is where heads of state, many presidents, ex-presidents, Helmut Schmidt, the German chancellor, I think members of the royal family, heads of business and entertainment, all congregate in this giant redwood grove outside of San Francisco. And they perform satanic rituals there. You can actually see this on film. And when I realized that this was going on, I thought, oh my God, things are starting to make sense here now. And the more you look into it, the more you'll find that Freemasonry, the Vatican, all these secret societies, they're all rooted in the Luciferian philosophy, the Luciferian religion, which of course is anti-Christ. And this is why they have gone to the lengths they have to purvey this massive heliocentric deception, because it eliminates God from people's minds. Science becomes their God. And when people say science, they don't really understand what science is. Like I said to you earlier, it's scientists say so that they're adhering to, not science adhering to the scientific method. There is an abundance of evidence for the flat Earth that adheres to the scientific method. You know, like water lying flat, like things on a spinning surface are thrown off, not pulled in. Nobody can create in a laboratory anything that supports the globe. You can't make water stick to a spinning ball. What's on a spinning surface, centrifugal force throws it out. Centripetal force, which they say is happening, pulls things in, but this is not demonstrable. You can't prove this, and it never has been proven.
So tell me a bit about, obviously you're from Cornwall. I know you've moved to be with your partner who has the same beliefs as you. Tell me how your life has been affected by your beliefs, like in Cornwall. I see the amount of abuse you get online. I know you have multiple Facebook profiles. I don't know if that's because you've been banned from places, or just tell me a bit about how it's affected your life.
Well, in a very good way, to be honest. I've got 3 Facebook profiles. They're all public. They've all got my photograph on them. And yeah, I do come in for a lot of abuse, and a lot of times you'll find that the people abusing me are Freemasons, because Freemasons have been very instrumental in this whole deception, and they are another arm of they are the Protestant arm, if you like, of the Vatican's Jesuits, and they've been instrumental in the purveying of this heliocentric deception. But as for my life, yes, I've come in for a lot of abuse, a lot of hate. I've had threats. I've even had death threats over the years. But it's water off a duck's back to me, because what I'm saying is the truth. And what I intend to do is help as many people as possible see this truth for themselves. That's what I'm all about. It's not about making money. It's not about promoting myself. It's not about getting attention. I post on a take it or leave it basis. And if anybody wants to learn, I'm happy to help. Anyone is free to contact me and ask questions. And if people are genuine, then I'm happy to help them do it. But personally speaking, because of the path I chose in doing this, I met my partner now. I live in the Caribbean. Never been happier. Yeah, so it's all good for me. I'm very happy about that. And I'm not at all bothered by the people some people just are idiotic, and some people are quite malicious, but I can deal with that. That's not a problem. And what that tells me is, when I'm constantly attacked like that, is obviously I'm having an effect that they don't want me to have, and people are starting to wake up to the fact that the earth is flat. I mean, I haven't done this for years without any success. A lot of people are now coming to realize the truth of it. And as I say, when you realize the truth of this, it calls everything else into question. And people do naturally wonder, well, why has this been done? And then you come to find out that the whole evolution, Big Bang, which came directly from a Catholic priest, by the way. The Big Bang came from the pen of a Catholic priest. All this ties in with the agenda being exacted on us. And this agenda is coming to fruition now, and it's all heading one way, and that is to a one world system, a one world totalitarian state with a one world digital currency and a one world religion. And I've been warning of this since 2012, and it's now, if you look for this, if you look into the evidence, you can see that this is what is manifesting all around us right now. And like I say, the truth of flat earth pulls the rug from all these deceptions, and that's what my aim is, to try and enlighten people and help them to see what's really going on. And of course, I'll get branded a nutcase and a conspiracy theorist and all the rest, but genuine, honest people who look into this on its own merits for themselves in a rational, analytical way will see that the truth I'm speaking defends itself.
What have your friends and family thought over the years of everything? Do they now agree with you? Do they, you just said people call you a nutcase. What do they think of you and your views?
Well, some people call me a nutcase. Some people realise that I'm speaking the truth. I mean, I know a lot of people in Cornwall. I've got a lot of friends in Cornwall. I've got family in Cornwall. And they know that I'm not a liar. Some of them may now think I've gone mad, and that's fine. They can think what they like, but the truth defends itself. And I always thought that those that know me know I wouldn't say this for nothing. I'm not trying to get a reputation as a nutcase. I'm not trying anything other than to speak the truth for people that they can ascertain for themselves. And I guarantee, if anybody looks into this genuinely, there is absolutely no proof in refutation of the flat Earth we all observe. And primarily focus on curvature alone. Just look into it, because without curvature, Earth can be nothing but flat, and it's clearly not there. You can see for yourself that I don't know if you remember the Red Bull space jump, where the guy jumped out of a pod on a balloon at 128,000 feet, and there was a lot of hoo-ha at it at the time, typical propaganda, and everybody thought they were seeing the actual curvature of the Earth when that guy was doing this parachute jump from 128,000 feet. And this is what Neil deGrasse Tyson is referring to. And he's saying, no, nobody saw curvature. What they saw was lens distortion. He actually admits this. And he says that no curvature is visible at 128,000 feet, because there's no denying it. We can send balloons up to like 121,000 feet, and there's exactly the same, a flat eye level horizon. Now, thinking people would surely wonder, well, why is it there's so many articles out there circulating online and YouTube videos claiming, and people saying, that they have seen curvature from a plane which flies at 40,000 feet. Like Philip Schofield on television saying he's seen the curvature of the Earth from Concorde at 60,000 feet, which is what Concorde used to fly at. It's parked up in Barbados now, I've seen it over there. And this is impossible. Neil deGrasse Tyson has said that the Earth appears flat at 128,000 feet, and this is impossible on a globe curving at 8 inches per mile times distance squared, equating to 666 feet over 100 miles, or even half that amount. It's simply impossible. And what I always say, no curve, no ball, game over. That's it. Everything else is academic. So how many people
have you turned to change their minds since you've not been on this journey very long, but how many people have you convinced?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I'm in contact with people all over the world, and the flat Earth community is growing all the time. It's grown exponentially over the last 5 years. So I've no way of knowing. And of course, what you will find online with, like you say, I get abused and all the rest of it, this is very much, you can get people from the 77 Brigade, the British Army, they're online. And they are propagandists online, steering the narrative of conversations. This is a fact that you can verify for yourself if you look up the 77th Brigade. There's an abundance. There are thousands of people online trying to steer the narrative of conversations and to try and bully and intimidate people away from the topic. And this is very much why you find you get abused. I mean, sometimes some opening comments, somebody will just comment on one of my posts and with foul-mouthed abuse, and people immediately are turned off from that and say, oh, I'm going to stay away from that. And that is the intent of the people that do it. They want to make it distasteful. They want to make it upsetting and unpleasant, so people don't want anything to do with it. And certainly don't want to come out and say, oh, I think the Earth is flat, because they don't want the abuse aimed at them, and this is why it's done. We live in an age of deceit, and it's absolutely monumental levels of deceit that are taking place at the moment. What's happening is an information war, and the truth is winning this information war, but they're not going to tell you that on the 6 o'clock news. They're just going to keep plastering you with more space propaganda, which has really gone through the roof lately. But that is because the whole thing is failing. And another thing to consider, and this is something that I've said since 2012, that I think they're going to pull some kind of alien hoax. Now immediately people will say, oh, conspiracy theory, there's absolute nonsense. You can go online and look up Paul Hellyer at the Citizens hearing in Washington in 2013. And this is the ex-defense minister of Canada. And he stated in a kind of in a courtroom kind of environment, there was a hearing there about disclosure, and he stated that aliens have been visiting the Earth for thousands of years, and the US government are working with a breed of aliens called the Tall Whites. Now this is the ex-defense minister of Canada, Paul Hellyer. You can look it up online. He's there, he actually says this. He's the highest ranking person ever to do it. Of course he's lying. The Earth is an enclosed system. and there is no outer space, and there are no aliens from it. But they are planning something, and this is why we've been programmed for 100 years plus to believe in space and aliens. And they've done this before in America with the Orson Welles War of the Worlds thing, and they sent people into panic who actually thought there was an alien invasion taking place. They're going to pull some sort of stunt like this, and this will be the ploy they will use to bring all religions under one banner, because they will undermine every single religion on earth if they can make us think that there are aliens. And this is what the Pope is doing. He's bringing all religions in under one banner, and the United Nations are all behind this as well. The United Nations are Luciferian. They are founded on Luciferian philosophy. You can look up Alice Bailey of the Theosophical Society and the Lucis Trust. These are all facts that I'm saying to you that you can verify. It's not even denied or hidden. You can look in their own writings and see that they are Luciferian. The Lucis Trust, which is the United Nations publishing company, used to be called Lucifer Publishing Company. The Theosophical Society is Luciferian. The New Age spirituality movement, spawned by the UN, is Luciferian. It's all Freemasonry. It's all rooted in the Luciferian philosophy. And if you look,
you said, Dave, you know, there's no outer space. Do you not believe in other planets? Do you not? Because I mean, you can go to space if you have the funds. What?
No, you can't, my love. This is absolutely fake. It's total fakery. And
but have you tried it?
Well, of course I haven't tried it. I haven't got. How am I going to do that? But what I'm saying to you is, there cannot be any space because the Earth is flat. And so
do you not believe in the other planets that are in space?
Well, do you know the other planets used to be called wandering stars before they were all named after pagan Roman gods? They were called wandering stars, and if you zoom in on them with a Nikon P900 camera, which is 14 times the zoom of the telescope Galileo used when he put this whole heliocentric lie together, you can see that they are light sources that seem to be like born of frequency, like sonoluminescence. You can go on YouTube and look up sonoluminescence, a star in a jar, where light can be created by sound waves. And this is what they appear like. They don't appear, and planets too, they don't appear even as terra firma. And NASA even admit that their images from space are CGI. They admit this. So all we've got to know that planets are spherical or terra firma, or NASA say so. And here's a little known fact that people don't really realize. I mean, in the 20th century, this is where the heliocentric move really came about. Post-World War II, there was something you can look up called Project Paperclip, whereby lots of Nazi scientists, including rocket scientist Werner von Braun, were covertly shipped to America under Project Paperclip. And they joined the CIA and NASA, and this is how NASA was founded. A lot of them were working on MK Ultra mind control. And make no mistake, society is under mind control. And this is a fact. You can look it up. The CIA used to have an MK Ultra program. It's admitted. And so a lot of these scientists that they shipped over were working on mind control. So then they created NASA. And then by the 60s, every home had a television, the greatest mind control tool ever used on mankind. And right in time for the moon landings, which are laughably fake if you go back and research these. Absolutely hilariously fake. And all the time they're on the moon, racing around in their moon buggy, playing golf and bouncing up and down. Nobody turned the camera to the most interesting thing to be seen as the Earth, as a spinning ball. We've got no footage of the Earth from the moon. It's so absurd, it's beyond laughable, to be honest. But everybody then believed that the Earth was a blue ball and men were in space jumping up and down on the moon because they saw it on their television. And the rest is history. You know, now we've got computer games, television, movies, all the rest of it. People are programmed intensely with this space rhetoric. And you're constantly blasted with globe images all the time. And aliens and NASA are saying now that UFOs are real, and we're being primed for this alien deception. And then when it happens, remember this conversation, Lisa, because I've warned you about it. It'll be a deception, and those that still believe the heliocentric lie will fall for it, but the flat earthers won't.
What I mean, I suppose the main thing for me, and I always see people asking, is why don't, if it was me and if I believed the Earth was flat, I wouldn't be able to carry on with life until I went to the ice wall and saw that the ice wall was real. But we know that when you fly from America to Asia, you don't go, it's so quick, it's right there, whereas on the flat Earth map, they're on opposite ends.
I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, but if you study general flights, they make absolutely no sense on the globe whatsoever, and they make perfect sense on a flat Earth map. I mean, you'll get one that goes from kind of like Argentina or somewhere that will fly up towards like London and then come all the way back down to go to Australia. So it's like kind of an upside down V, but on a flat Earth map, it's pretty much a straight line. I mean, if you're interested in this, Lisa, and you want answers to all these questions, I can happily accommodate you. You just I can send you information.
I'm just curious I'm just saying, if I have this belief, I like with anything, I can't rest until I put it to bed, like I know for certain it's true. So why don't you want to, because you're actually pretty close to what would be the end of the Earth, why don't you want to sail to the ice wall? Why has nobody seen it? Why has nobody got pictures?
Well, actually there are, Lisa. It's well documented by Captain Cook and James Ross, who circumnavigated Antarctica over 3 years for a distance of about 60,000 miles. And logged it down as having no inlets, and was like pretty much like the White Cliffs of Dover all around. So it's been circumnavigated, and bear in mind they travelled along this ice wall for 60,000 miles, when the circumference of Earth at the equator is only 24,900. There's video footage of it. There's Operation Highjump. Have you ever heard of that?
No, but is there just not a part of you that wants to see it for real?
Well, of course I would love to, but you seem to be unaware of the Antarctic Treaty. You're not allowed within 300 miles of the Antarctic coastline. And if you look up Niels Anderhøi, a Norwegian Viking, he went down there with a couple of other people who mysteriously disappeared, and he ended up getting fined $45,000 for going down there without a permit. If you want to go to Antarctica, you've got to jump through so many hoops if you're independently traveling there that you can't get there. There are, of course, tourist trips that go down there, token tourist trips to give the impression that everything's above board, but it's really not. And like I was just mentioning to you, I bet you've never heard of Operation Highjump. And I would highly recommend that you look into this, because this is documented fact as well. You see, during World War II, the Nazis spent a lot of time and resources down in Antarctica. And they named it New Swabia. And post-World War II, Admiral Richard Byrd of the United States took a task force of 5,000 men, battleships, aircraft carrier, aircraft supply ships to Antarctica on a 6-month mission, returning prematurely after only 2 months. Now, what exactly happened down there, I don't know. But what I'm telling you there is fact. So there's an awful lot of activity going on down there, but it's being kept away from us. The Antarctic Treaty of 1959, now signed up to by 52 countries, prevents any unauthorized visit to Antarctica. You're not allowed within 300 miles of the Antarctic coastline. And besides, I don't like the cold. But there's no way that I could get down there. I mean, you say, and what's more, nobody needs to go there to know that the Earth is flat. You can know that just by ascertaining there's no curvature. But this seems to bounce off people. But it's an observable truth before everyone's eyes that there is no curvature. So therefore Earth can be nothing but flat. And if you look at all the ancient depictions of the Earth, they all show the same thing, like a domed snow globe. And everything we observe in this world supports that flat Earth model. The path of the sun, the stars. Do you know, like the North Star, Polaris, is always fixed in the same position. The constellations are always fixed in the same position in relation to Polaris and each other. They remain perfectly formed. The science will tell you, oh, we haven't been around long enough to see them move, but they do. This is absolute nonsense. And anybody can verify this. All of the stars rotate around Polaris, which never moves. Yet and they take exactly the same path every day. They go out of sync with daylight hours. But I can stand out in front of my house. I've got 2 roofs that stick out. And I can line them up like a gun sight on the third star in Orion's belt. I think it's Betelgeuse. And as it comes over my house, I can line it up like a gun sight on exactly the same spot. It takes exactly the same path all year round. It's just it goes a little bit further ahead than daylight hours. So, but it's still on the same path. Every time it passes over my house and I can see it, I can line it up. Yet we're supposed to be traveling in an orbital ellipse around the sun, which is 93 million miles away. Yet we're seeing the same stars do the same thing day in, day out. It's impossible, absolutely impossible. And if people start looking at this with common sense and making their own observations, these things are there for everyone to verify. Like I say, flat Earth is the most verifiable truth there is. I don't know of anything that's more verifiable.
Okay, Dave, I haven't got a lot of time, so I'm going to have to ask you just a couple quick questions.
Sure.
You were saying earlier about people, treating you, being really hateful, and you would get death threats. Do you think you've ever been too aggressive with people about your views, or do you think you're quite respectful of
I treat everybody.
Trying to educate them?
I treat everybody with respect until they show me disrespect. If somebody comes up and disrespects me, then I don't sink to the level that they do against me, but I can retaliate. I usually try to be a bit humorous about it as well. But yeah, I'll insult people back if people insult me, and I've got no time for liars and deceivers. I mean, very often, particularly, I get a lot of Freemasons who I know are lying and trying to keep people under deception. So I've got no respect for these people whatsoever. They disgust me.
Have you lost friends that you've been friends with for years, or are there family members who literally don't talk to you anymore?
Well, my family, my children are fine. My cousins are great. I don't get along with certain members of my family, which I won't go into detail about, but that was way before any of my flat Earth views came to light.
Okay, so not to do with that, that's fine.
Yeah, and well, families are families, aren't they? But that's neither here nor there. Have I lost friends through it? Yes, I have. There are people that have turned against me for my views, yeah, which is crazy, really. But yeah, people get very offended by the truth because they don't want their illusions destroyed. And so, like I said to you, the biggest surprise of all of this has been how people have reacted to the truth. And I think any flat earther will tell you that.
But do you think you ever force your view? I'm just thinking, if you have a friend and they believe the earth is round and you believe it's flat, do you try to force your views on them because you know them to be true? I don't force anything on anyone. No. Like I say, I post what I post on Facebook. I'm not knocking on anybody's door like a Jehovah's Witness, as I've been accused of being. I'm posting on a purely take it or leave it basis. If you're not interested, fine. That's absolutely fine with me. People can do whatever they like. If anybody wants to learn, I'm there, willing and happy to give up my time to help them. But I'm not forcing anything down anybody's throat. And if people don't want to see what I post, then simply block me. That's what I advise people to do. Because I got every right to say what I'm saying. And if people don't want to see it, fine, block me, don't look. Don't engage. But if you want to come and challenge what I'm saying, then do so with evidence. And I guarantee that no one can. So how come you do have the 3 profiles on Facebook?
Well, because when you post the truth on Facebook, you will find that you're discriminated against by Facebook quite a lot. So you'll end up with 30-day bans and things like that. And so I've had that happen before. And so then I've made other profiles so that I can still carry on my activities. So,
okay. Yeah, because Facebook have the fake news policy, don't they? So if
well,
you're spreading things.
This is another thing, isn't it? The whole fake news thing. And of course they will say that flat Earth is fake news when it's not. So, if people want the truth, it's there for them to verify. And I'm happy to help anyone do that. But it's not compulsory. If you're not interested, don't bother. It's fine by me. It's all take it or leave it.
You've been posting, I noticed you posted a couple things lately that seem to indicate you also think the coronavirus is fake.
Absolutely, and I'm not alone on that one either. This is all part of the agenda that I and many other people who are researched and aware have warned about for a very, very long time. And if you look at what's happened now, really, in 2009, 650,000 people worldwide died as a result of the swine flu virus. Did you see anybody walking around with masks or social distancing? It's, this is all about control and teaching us to be obedient for the new world order that is dawning, which is going to be a totalitarian regime, as I told you earlier. And if people want information on this, I'm more than happy to help them. But this is the way things are going, and the coronavirus this is a step towards that. It's teaching us to be obedient, to do as we're told, to wear our face masks, to social distance. And what this is doing to young children now? It's going to be very psychologically damaging. It's completely evil what's being done, and none of it stacks up and makes sense either.
So you think it's literally about control, essentially trying to get the world to conform?
Absolutely. Look, 8,000 children die every day because of hunger. If they're so concerned about preserving human life, why isn't something being done about that when 60 people own more wealth than half the world's population? None of it all makes sense. Well, it does.
So what do you think these people are dying from? You think they're dying from something else and it's just being billed as coronavirus?
Well, the government have even admitted that people are having COVID-19 put on their death certificates when they haven't died of COVID-19. And this has been admitted by the government. The figures are being fudged. Now, is there a virus going around? There is every flu season. People die every year. An average flu season sees about 250,000 people die. In 2009, 650,000 people died. But the British government are also saying that most people will not be affected by this virus. And it's got a survival rate of something like 99.98%, something like that. It's absolutely absurd that everybody is in total fear and panic purely because of the fear campaign on the television that they're going to die from some virus with a 99 point something or other survival rate. It's absolute madness. Do you remember when the first news reports came down, people were falling over, dropping down in China, falling flat on their faces because of the coronavirus? Well, nobody's doing that. Nobody's doing that. This is complete sensationalism, terror tactics. And no, so yeah, I completely don't believe the coronavirus situation is real. It's being totally manipulated and misrepresented. And I've spoken to people in the health service where the hospitals that we're told are like war zones are like ghost towns. And people have told me in confidence who work in the health service that it's being grossly misrepresented by the media. And you've seen there's people going around with cameras filming these hospitals where they're supposed to be inundated and nothing's going on. Now, I know of a cancer patient awaiting treatment at the moment that's been told to self-isolate till September, and her treatment is on hold. Now, how many people are dying as a result of this kind of thing going on at the moment? The mental health strain it must be putting on people.
Know anyone then personally that's died from COVID-19 or had it?
No, I don't. Do you?
No, I don't.
No, well, there you go. And this is, this whole thing, if you look into this, Bill Gates ran a simulation of this called Event 201 last autumn. He ran a simulation of exactly what we're seeing in the world right now. And I think we're going to get the second wave in a minute as well. And this is again, it's going to be all by design. And it's about world control. It's about the bringing in of the new world order that people have been warning about, and I've been warning about for 8 years, and many people have warned about for decades before. People have been warning about this for the last 200 years, and now it's manifesting. This is part of the Illuminati agenda for world control, and it's dawning on us now.
Right, I have to go shortly, Dave. So if I just need to take a few details. What do you do now for a living? You said, do you rescue dogs, did you say?
Yeah, my wife and I were very involved in animal rescue. I mean, I don't want to get into too much personal details about myself and that here, because it's not really relevant, and people tend to use whatever they can against me online, as I'm sure you've noticed, so I don't want to give
Yeah, no worries, that's fine. It's just a little bit, obviously, because otherwise people just won't think you're a real person.
Oh, right.
So, animal rescue in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Moved over there in 2016. You're originally from Boston. Are you happy for me to say that you're a father, that you have children?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. How many children do you have?
I have 3.
And they still live in Cornwall?
They do.
Brilliant. you said your girlfriend has, you said, a physics degree, is that right?
She has a master's in physics and law, yeah, from the University of Sofia in Bulgaria.
Nice. Is she happy to be named in the article as well?
Well, that's all. I think I'll just leave it to that. I don't think she needs to be named. No.
That's fine. Okay, brilliant. Yeah, I think that's everything there. Now I've got the pictures, I'll put something together and I'll keep you updated. And thanks for taking the time to talk to me.
Very welcome, Lisa.
All right, and have a good evening. And wishing you all the best out in the Caribbean. Although we've got Caribbean weather at the moment in Cornwall, so that's quite nice.
You'll give me a copy of the audio as agreed, yeah?
Yes, I have got, hopefully. I've been typing up notes, but just have a check. Yeah, I'll check back and make sure the audio is recorded, but I've definitely got the typed notes, okay?
All right, my love, thank you very much. You take care now. And any questions you have on Flat Earth, don't hesitate to ask.
Thank you, Dave. Bye.
Bye.